Hey, hey, welcome to our retiree lifestyle, talking about all things affecting it nowadays ever since forever. Take a look here where we're at. We're gonna get into some good whoppers for you, so stick around. Before we get into that, I'll give you a little peek here of our daily walking.
We've already done that.
Yes, we do climb that hill up there, and this one. And we do it without any health insurance.
Well, that is our health insurance, honey.
So we bring you our whoppers, and we don't edit stuff out, you know, and we don't caramelize it. So we don't postcard it, and we give it all to you, and yet we're here. And so we're not saying to people, don't do this, or... We spent 8 years in Ecuador, and we also traveled Central America and Europe, Eastern Europe, places like that. And so we talk about all those places, and we also talk about USA. A lot of people are in USA or Canada, or any place, looking to leave, or a lot of people are wanting to leave the cities and do the homesteading thing, which we were. We were homeschooling homesteaders, and we may get back to the homesteading part at some point. So we have all of that as a perspective. We have the self-sufficient, some people call it prepping, homesteader type of experience, and we also have the travel abroad experience. So we have a pretty well-rounded, and did I mention that we traveled the USA as a family with children in a 30-foot travel trailer. So we've done all that already. A lot of people retire and want to do that. We've already done all of that too. And by the way, when I start talking about any place, including Ecuador, which there's a good old boy, good old Southern boy, Jack. I need to give a shout out to Jack Abercrombie, good old boy, Southern boy. He'll take care of you if you need anything when you go to Ecuador. We used to do that. We used to help people that went to Ecuador. We used to help them get locally priced rentals, which is a little bit different than what, you know, maybe Jack will be able to help you with. So I'm not saying that that's what he's going to do for you. But if you don't have any experience going abroad and don't want to do it alone, it's good to have somebody like Jack help you out. Having said that, remember that I'm not going to not say anything on this channel just because I'm friends with people that are good old boys that help people, okay? I can't do that. I have to say what there is to say, and I'm just going to say it without the sugar. And here's what needs to be understood about that. Before I get into the whoppers, I'm sorry if you're bored with this conversation, but it's important. In our experience, we've always had a channel that set itself apart by telling it like it is. Now, a lot of people, there's a segment of the expat population that doesn't like that, doesn't want that. And there's a lot of reasons for that that I go into detail in other videos. I'm not going to do it right now. But the bottom line is, in our experience, is that what happens is that you've got viewers that see our unsugar-coated content, and if they're the type of person that would have got down there without seeing our content and then saw the things we talk about, in other words, they weren't privy to it, they didn't see our content, they went down there anyway, or they went down there without the knowledge, because we're pretty rare. Sad fact, not bragging. And when they get down there and figure all the stuff out, and they decide it's not for them, they leave. Okay, and that's why you have a lot of a revolving door of people that go abroad. And that's why you have a lot of money spent on advertising from mainstream media to try to keep that revolving door going. And that's exactly what they do. Different subject though, is the other side is the people that watch our content and say, okay, well I know the worst of it now, but I also see the good of it, which we do show. We show the good, and we don't leave anything out. So we don't have an agenda. We're not trying to discourage people. If we were, we wouldn't have a membership area where people can join, and it's like having a 5-hour consultation with me one-on-one, where I give you all the ins and outs, and I'm just there for you. And so I wouldn't have that if I was trying to discourage people. But my point is that the people that say, well, okay, thank you, Frank, you've given me all of it, and having seen all of it, I'm okay with it. I'm at peace with it. I'm still going to go to Ecuador. You know what? They're some of the most solid people. I'm not saying they'll last forever in Ecuador, but they typically do last longer. And so they're good people. They're good, solid people. I've actually had real estate agents that I used to send my people to, our viewership, because I had used him several times and he knew what kind of rentals I wanted. And at the time we were collaborating, there's very few of those. It's hard to find those, you know, that the greed doesn't get the best of them. They see the worst of it and they say, okay, I'm okay with it. I'm just going to go anyway. Thank you. A lot of times they also go a step further and they come into the management area or ask for assistance. That's fine. I don't have to be the one assisting you. I can be, and you can be in the management area. You don't have to be. But a lot of people like that. And so the point is, you got two kinds, and you don't have to fear and worry. You know, we can be friends if you're a go-to person, as long as people say, oh, why don't you collaborate with so-and-so? I collaborate with those that understand my point of view. I don't collaborate with those that are antagonistic to my point of view and don't live any of it. You see my point? Okay, let's get past all this and get on to the Whoppers. Baby, you give me ice and fire. Speaking of Ecuador, a lot of people, they just, you know, it's like wandering down a dark alley. They go down there and they say, what's going on? What's going on? Well, I'll tell you what's going on. Don't you remember in the old days, if you weren't there, I'm giving you a sneak peek, a flashback. There is a mainstream media. It's a mainstream gringo media in Ecuador, and you can expect everything you normally expect from a mainstream media, except for they're a little better. So I'm not going to toss them completely into the trash can. They're somewhat informative, but unfortunately they have the certain bias that the retired abroad media has because of the vested interest. This is not what this video is about. Let me just hang in there. I'm just telling you, look at this beautiful point here. Look at all the birds. Beautiful. Just a beautiful day. This looks like the kind of place we stayed in when we first came down to Puerto Vallarta. Some people say it incorrectly. They say it Puerto Vallarta. Puerta means door, so it's not Vallarta door, it's port of Vallarta. As you can see, it's a port. And cruise ships do come here, and other ships. So it's Puerto Vallarta. So there's a gringo mainstream media, and some of you will remember that they were telling people how safe Guayaquil is. And of course we were cracking up quietly because you can't always, you know, I mean, you come across confrontational. We're not trying to be. We're just the guys telling the truth, the ones that are hated. And we did go to Guayaquil, make some videos, but we never said it was safe. Well, here's what there is to know. A lot of people want to know, oh, what's going on, what's going on? You know, people want to know what's going on. Well, the murder rate was already high when we were down there a few years ago. Well, now, and by the way, I started making videos about crime in Ecuador. I mean, I've been making them all along. I've been making crime videos. I got a whole series of crime videos. Go check it out in our history. And so you can consider this as an update to the crime situation. Just to say, Guayaquil was never a safe place. It was never a peaceful place. But it was worth visiting right there in the tourist zone. It was a very short square of around 5 by 7 blocks. That was it. If you wandered off of there, you're a mercenary. You're a mercenary. You're looking for trouble. And so here's what there is to know: the crime rates. And this isn't just for Guayaquil, okay? I'm not telling you this to scare you, but as crime increases, the potential of becoming a victim increases, and the criminals become more brazen, more aggressive, and even safety measures start becoming risky. Just so you know, the crime rates have tripled. So the crime rates are up 300%. This is murder rate has gone up 300%. Armed assaults and armed hits are way up all over the coast. We've never said the coast was safe. We've never done that. But we went to the coast. We've got a bunch of videos of being at the coast. But did we do it just because somebody on a video said, oh hey, it's safe, it's wonderful, come on down? Of course not. You know, we get down in the trenches, go local, talk to locals, experience local. And if the locals tell us something, we listen. So that's the difference. You might be listening to other expats, but we listen to locals. That's the difference. And then I communicate it to you. So, you know, that's insider information for you, because you're not going to get it from the expats. 999,000 out of 1,000. Not saying never, but it's not likely. And so I don't want to make this whole video about the crime. I wanted you to know that crime rates have tripled, armed assaults, but it's worse than that. The right-wing side of the politics, they call it right-wing, as if it's some sort of eagle. It could be an eagle, but the right wing has got a bullseye on its back, and they're all getting hit. We're talking mayor of Manta, we're talking presidential candidates, and it was a third hit.
Deputy.
I was expecting
Who?
you. Come and have a drink with us.
I was expecting you too. So I made a video a couple of years ago when I was in Quito, when we were in Quito, and showed people the China aspect of Ecuador, and I've called it, ever since 2020, I've called Ecuador simply a suburb of China. Yeah, I don't mince words. I've got friends that tell me that. You know, would I go to Ecuador? I could. You know, I don't tell people what to do. I don't tell people things to discourage them. If that's going to discourage you, well, then you aren't meant to be in Ecuador. There are some people that, knowing all of the above, are still going to go to Ecuador. So no worries, Mr. Expat Helper. You do your job, I do my job. Remember, you and I were born during a very specific time in history. And in that specific time in history, we were taught and we visualized and we saw with our own eyes certain things, certain aspects of life that we have grown up with. But getting back to the US, we were taught in the school books that centralization of power is communism, that it's communistic, and it is. But what happens when the communists try to get smarter? Now remember when I said in a few videos back that if it's got ism in the end of it, we don't want it? Well, yeah, this is communism, fascism. Fascism is just communism. It's just communists trying to be more stealthy.
Money, please.
Money, money. She's not shy about begging. All right, so you've got the leaders of industry that are reached a point where they're cooked, they're corrupt, they're washing money, and they think they can do whatever they want. And they're joining forces with the communists in an attempt to fool as many people as possible into believing that this is the way it is. Think about it. How many people fall for that? You know, I mean, the more grandiose a scheme is, the less likely it is to be challenged. I've had people say to me, yeah, but this is international. How could this be a, you know, some kind of scheme or something? They don't understand. You know, it's something that people have to warm up to little by little. So hang in there. I'm getting to a point, and I'm talking about AMLO. We've been born and raised in an era that has taught us, some of us, that what AMLO is doing is a power grab and is communism. But here's the difference, and I'll tell you why. And I said hang in there because I like to give a background and a history, and I also like to make examples to help the viewer. I'm just trying to help the viewer. You know, it's a totally different environment out here, and you know, like I said in the previous video, people aren't going to connect in Ecuador when these shysters use the word 15-minute cities, but they'll connect with people you know, north of the border because they're in a hurry and don't have any time. So 15-minute cities, oh hey, that sounds cool. You know, you mean I can do everything 15 minutes? All right. No, you won't connect down here in Latin America. People, no 15 minutes. So that's what I'm telling you. Hang in there. And I'm telling you, AMLO, here's what he's doing. And I try to give it to you very slowly, at the risk of sounding a little bit condescending, but please forgive me. I'm just saying, though, that it depends on what's in someone's heart and the person that it is. Because if President Trump had done the things that AMLO is doing right now in Mexico, he would have been branded a right-wing dictator. You know it, I know it.
Yes, you're right.
Because they're not judging the character of the person and the result. I recently saw an article that called the rise of, and this is an ism too that we don't want, Bukeleism. Bukeleism. No, we don't want Bukeleism. We want to look at what's done and what the result is. And you know what's done is he made Bitcoin legal tender. That's not Bukeleism. That's just Smartism. That's just smart, and it's just good sense. It's good for the people and good for the country. What's good for the people is good for the country. Remember, a pine forest is made up of pine trees. So if it isn't good for the people, it isn't going to be good for the country. That's why communism doesn't work, because it's not good for the people, and therefore it's not really good for the country. But they'll try to get you to believe it is. And so AMLO is putting an airline in the hands of the Mexican army. Okay? And I know that's something that people would normally, from the land of the free and the home of the brave, that's something you balk at. What? But it doesn't end there. He's also putting the trains in the hands of the army and some other infrastructure, tourism infrastructure, and some of the other projects like infrastructure projects. He's also encouraging farmers to be more independent and grow local food. This tells you something about the man, because when you look at what he's doing, what is the result? And you have a sneak peek into what his point is. And with everything that's happening ever since 2020, good people have to separate and do good. Because if you try to do good under the bad people, they won't allow it. You saw what happened to Trump, right? You try to do it under them, they don't let you out. What AMLO is doing is nothing short of brilliance. It's not just brilliance, it's spiritual brilliance. It's spiritual matter. And that's how you judge someone, by their fruits. Remember, a bad tree gives you bad fruit, good tree gives you good fruit. The reason why he's grabbing the trains and the planes and the automobiles, just kidding, is so that you have an option when the bad guys make a power grab. And there's options. You see the point? I hope you saw it before I even had to mention it, but even if you didn't, it's okay. And that's why I make my videos detailed and long for some of you that need that little extra detail. You know, AMLO, it seems like he's centralizing, and he is, so I'm not praising centralization, but there are certain times in history. It's a very specific moment in time. It's like laser surgery. And now may be that time when the right person needs to get in there and just do what needs to be done. And I said this when we were walking on the Malecon in Salinas, Ecuador. How many years ago was that?
In 2016.
Right, it was right when Donald Trump was vying for the presidency, and everybody was just freaking out because they thought they were going to get a right-wing dictator, because that's what they're told, and that never happened. And I was hinting around at that time in my videos that the right person needs to get in and do what needs to be done. I don't, you know, this isn't hindsight for me, but it may be hindsight for a lot of people. I was trying to encourage in my videos. I try to encourage, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a president of a country or a guy just walking down the street or just an expat, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I encourage everybody, and that includes presidents, to do what's right. And AMLO has it. He knows, and Trump didn't at that time. I'm not saying he doesn't now, but he didn't at that time. I mean, this is why I call it the old republicanism. Old republicanism is what got us here. The spot we're in is because of old republicanism. Old republicanism did not block what's happening from happening. Old republicanism is obsolete. It's useless. It's like planned obsolescence in a house for you real estate people. It's like those houses where you have to walk through a galley kitchen to get to the restroom. That's what old republicanism is. It's useless. I'm not bashing any of the governors. I'm just pointing out the flaws of old republicanism. It's like people say, I'm going to go to South Carolina because of the governor. And what did he do? He lowered the sales tax 1%. That's like President Lasso of Ecuador removing taxes on toilet paper because he's pro-business. You know, this is what I'm talking about, old republicanism. It's useless. It needs to be chucked in the garbage can. And the new republicanism is what needs to take its place, and AMLO seems to get it. So I appreciate you sticking with the video, and with that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Leave us a comment below. Thanks for coming to the channel. Again, have a wonderful day.